Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Ask a Scientist Gaming, where we combine mediocre gameplay with expert science. I'm Ken Hansen, Associate Professor in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry at Florida State University. I am a photochemist/photophysicist. I care a lot about what happens when you hit molecules with light and where that energy goes in terms of moving electrons, breaking bonds, generating electricity, generating mechanical work. Whatever it might be, I'm interested in it. But more importantly, joining me today is Dr. Joan Simon. Johan, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Yeah, I'm an associate professor in the School of Polymer Science and Engineering at the University of Southern Mississippi. I've been there for since 2016. So what connect me with Ken is we also like to play with light and photons. I don't claim to be a photophysicist, but dangerous enough to know a little bit about it. And yeah, we do all sorts of polymer synthesis, and we like to make stimuli-responsive materials, and our latest emphasis is on things like sustainability, and pretty excited to be here.
Awesome. What do you usually teach?
What do I usually teach? So in the fall semester, I typically teach a lab class. So that's what we call our polymer techniques. So that involves a little bit of polymer synthesis, mostly what we call step growth polymerization, and also some characterization techniques such as NMR. We do differential scanning calorimetry to measure, transitions and thermal transitions in materials. We do a little bit of IR. But yeah, so we combine a little bit of synthesis and characterization tools. And then in the spring semester, I teach a graduate class, teach polymer physics, or
Nice.
Polymer physical chemistry.
Very fun. All right, equally important, what game are we starting with?
NHL96.
NHL 1996.
It's in the game.
It's in the game. We're off to a good start. Let's do it. So this one is Super Nintendo.
All right.
Yeah, for some reason our Sega version of this is not working. I apologize, any of you purists that demand Sega NHL 96, but I couldn't get it to work for some reason. So, sorry, we're making do with the Super Nintendo.
That'll be great. You can watch me make a fool out of myself.
That's why everyone is here. I promise they're not here for the gameplay. If anyone's showing up for the gameplay, we apologize ahead of time. When was the last time you played this?
Probably circa 1996. Let's say maybe until 99.
99.
I think then I switched to more PC-oriented games for about a couple of years, and then grad school.
Yeah.
I didn't play anymore. But I do have a Nintendo Switch now, so we'll
You can get back to it.
looking forward. Well, my daughter is beating me at Just Dance, Let's Dance. I don't know how it's called. But
With the dance pad thing?
Yes.
Nice.
My 10-year-old is a lot more gifted at moving her body than I am.
Yeah. No, it's good for dexterity. All right, let's do this. Let's start
All
the game.
right. So,
Should be start buttons, I think.
There we
Start button on that controller is a little jank.
okay.
So I bought a
let's see.
refurbished original SNES controller.
Hey, we can do the Boston Bruins. I got my PhD at UMass Amherst, so I have to.
Oh, is
To
that one
go
of your
with-
Legions?
Yeah, so I have to have two teams from the Northeast, right? The Hartford Whalers and the Boston Bruins, but I'm gonna go with the Bruins because they're ranked higher.
So Cuddle
I have
Puppy
no
has
shame.
chimed in with some advice for beating your daughter in video games. Use steroids to beat her at Just Dance.
Okay. Point taken.
Does steroids make you better at dancing? I don't know if that's
Steroids. I have a weird history with steroids. I've had like a painful shoulder, and I've tried steroids, and my wife actually told me that she would leave me if I continued to use steroids.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was like anti-inflammatory steroids? And,
Yeah.
Oh,
So
man.
that was,
So there was a personality change?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Holy shit.
Or it made the real me come out.
The facade was lifted. Wow, that's intense.
Just couldn't hide those feelings anymore.
I mean, that's... Because it changes your testosterone levels, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
it definitely...
I-
Man,
I-
see your roid raging out.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Old
I
man
just-
shoulder. That's intense.
All right.
I've never gone as far. Like, I've had knee injuries and stuff like that, but I don't think I've done steroidal. Well, mostly I was hurt during track season. Couldn't in the NCAA, but now just Hulk out.
During what?
During like I was in college athlete, right?
Oh, wow.
So NCAA rules, they wouldn't allow things like that, like the drug testing and whatnot.
So what was your specialty? I didn't know that.
I was a track athlete in college, actually. I was a
Okay.
high jumper, believe it or not.
Oh.
So I high jumped. My personal best was 2 meters.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not a bad height. It's not competitive
2
in
meters
Division
is-
2 high jump,
yeah,
but yeah.
You and I are both tall, and that's over us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's one of those thresholds when I could jump my own height. I'm like, this is not bad. What's crazy is like it was Division 2, so it wasn't Division 1 like Olympic trials type stuff. But I was the shortest high jumper every time.
Oh,
Those
really?
guys were 6'4", 6'6". I mean, it definitely favors the tall. And I was just
sure.
fast, so yeah, cuddle puppy. When I had an eye injury, they gave me steroids, but my eye didn't get any more muscular. No, but it got angrier. It blinked a lot more.
And I was a soccer player.
Yeah.
I played at a regional level in France, which is, not too bad.
Well, so you didn't have it as part of the college, right? It's separate than the university.
Yes,
Okay,
there's
it's club.
no college sports in Europe.
Yeah,
Everything is club based.
I see.
So, yeah, oh, that's gonna be ice. Oh no. Yeah. So I played until I was 21, and then we moved to the U.S. for grad school, and just not really easy to conciliate the two.
But you would have dominated here.
So I was in a club team for a little bit,
Ooh, post. Nice.
and what was really the thing in France is that there are so many people who play soccer that there's always a team for your level. Right?
Yeah.
And I found that when I played the league in Western Mass, there was a little bit of a catch-all for everyone. So there were
I
people
see.
that would have been like really ranked really high in France, but you also had people who had never touched the ball in their entire life,
Just playing on the same
and they
field.
were playing on the same field and sometimes on the same team. So it was just. And to me, the other thing that was surprising is that if you're really into sports, I know we probably should be talking about chemistry. Well,
No, you're warm.
no. See, I should be talking about sports because when I talk about I say chemistry, then I get a goal. Where was I going with that?
Just people, different skill levels on the same field.
Yeah. One of the things was that I find in the U.S. I mean probably it might be a little different in bigger cities, but the one thing that I would say is it might be I found it really hard to maintain a certain level in the U.S. if you don't make the team, right? Whereas the fact that there are a lot more club teams in Europe. You can still find some team that will be at the right level. So sometimes I feel that a lot of people, they were maybe on their school team, but then if they don't make college, then they stop that sports altogether because they just can't continue, right? And that might be a little different in bigger cities, but at least in Western Massachusetts, I found that a lot of people couldn't continue. Yeah,
Posted.
I know.
That was very close. No, that's intriguing. I mean, I do like the European system where the athletics are detached from academics, right? Like, I mean, I've been at sports schools like USC and FSU, and
Right.
I mean, the priorities are different, right?
Yeah,
There's
well,
pros and cons. There's only like 3 college football teams that actually make a profit. Did you know that? It's something ridiculous
Really?
like that because they pay the coaches so much, and I mean, I'm sure alumni dollars make up for it, but
This is where we're supposed to complain about our salaries.
Yeah, exactly. We don't get paid as much as the coach. Now, I remember at USC, it was eye-opening. The coach got paid the most. Guess who got paid second most? This one will shock you.
Okay, I don't know. Yeah,
The band director.
oh, wow. Okay.
The marching band.
Well, you got to have entertainment during the game.
Yeah, exactly. Halftime. You have to have a full.
At least it's consistent with the general trend that they were trying to set. STEM was probably lower on the.
Yeah. But if sports are detached from academics, then the university can't launder their money to build a new stadium every 5 years. Oh, man. We better step away from this, because at some point I'm going to get a cease and desist from FSU. They already got mad at me for ranting on Reddit about their opt-out book buying program. Are you familiar with this?
No.
So there's deals with publishing companies where it's like students, if they're enrolled in your class, and they have financial aid, they're automatically signed up to buy the book unless they say they don't want to buy the book. So they call it an opt-out program. Mm-hmm. So you're not deciding to buy it. You have to tell them if you don't want to. Mm-hmm. And so I ranted about it on Reddit, just giving people a heads up, like, this is, predatory, be aware of it, say no until you know you need the book. And then, yeah, I heard from upper administration, somebody was upset about that. So, yeah, good times. I picked a fight, and then I backed off. All right, so you've had time to settle in, time to warm up. If anyone has science questions for Dr. Joan Simon, he's happy to answer them. He's an expert in polymer chemistry, polymer engineering, synthesis, making polymers with specific properties. He wants them to be adaptive structures, responsive, do specific tasks, and he knows how to do that. Speaking of which, have you dove into like the 3D printing polymer world? Is that...
Not well, yes and no. I mean, we've done a little bit of what is called fused filament fabrication. So fused filament fabrication is probably the easiest 3D printing technique that you can think of. It's you just melt the polymer and then extrude it. So a little bit like you would spaghetti.
Yeah. And the most common, it's the PLA, right? That's the most common plastic they use.
Right. So that's the typical 3D printer that a lot of people can buy at home, right? I think some of the more interesting methods actually involve light. We were talking about light.
Oh yeah,
in the opener.
The photopolymerization.
Yeah. So the stereolithography and so those are methods that I think would be maybe a little more interesting. But it's not something that we have really gotten into.
Yeah.
I mean, I had thought of course, using something that we both work on, which is light up conversion for 3D printing. But I think there's some folks at Stanford who did a better job than we did.
Well, Phil Castellano had a paper on that too, the porphyrin, like the homocoupled up conversion. Yeah. But essentially you're using photons to drive reactions, and theoretically you could use the intersection of two beams of light to 3D print into space, which is kind of a cool idea, controlling it spatially throughout.
Yeah, and actually in that case you're using the bimolecular thing to its fullest. You don't load it to have enough triplets that you're below the intensity threshold. But
yeah. So it goes. Man, so you were born in south of France.
I was born in the south of France.
Why are we playing hockey?
Why are we playing hockey? So
what led you to this?
I don't know. Strangely enough, there was a channel in France that was showing U.S. sports on TV called Canal Plus, and they typically you had to pay subscription for it, but that's not looking good.
No, it's okay. What are we in? We're in the second. No, we still have another period. You're fine. Anyway, there's a sports channel played in France.
Yeah, so you actually had to pay for it, but it was a weird thing. So when you couldn't, they had some programs that you could see, that everyone could see, and they had some programs that you could not see, and then all of a sudden it would get like all blurry.
Yeah, the wavy.
So you had like a wavy thing.
Yep.
But for some reason, like late at night, they would have like hockey games, and so. I think I don't know. My brother got interested in hockey, and then so we would watch things, and then eventually, I think for Christmas, he asked for a game, and then a hockey game, and so that's what we got. So that's what we're playing then.
That's awesome.
But funnily enough, so he pursued that dream further, and he actually started to play ice hockey as a grown-up, and now his 5-year-old is playing ice hockey somewhere in the south of France, which is a rather uncommon.
I was going to say, that's not a
Yeah.
mainstream sport in France, right? Especially south. You're closer to what?
Spain.
Yeah.
I grew up about an hour and 20 minutes away from the Spanish border.
But like weather-wise, it's how similar. What would be the U.S. look like?
Central California, maybe?
Okay, like the
Coastal Central
middle.
California.
Okay, that makes sense. That's awesome. So you learned hockey and speaking English via hockey streams from the U.S.
English is an interesting thing. So I was fortunate enough that I had, first off, I had an awesome, so kudos to teachers. I had an awesome English teacher in middle school. So I started learning English in middle school, and then that's starting to look like
That was a solid play in their defense. That was a good goal.
Didn't we say that we should play at the basic level? Is that the basic level?
Yeah. No, mediocre gameplay. Oh, you got this. Anyway, you had a middle school teacher that.
Yeah, so I his name was Mr. Calmet, and he spent a lot of time on pronunciation, which was rather unusual in France, especially at that time.
Huh.
I mean, I was a good student throughout high school, but so I was doing my homework with due diligence. But so he was really harping on pronunciation, which I was also fortunate to do a middle school trip to England, and I stayed with a family, and I realized the importance of pronouncing things properly. So that was my first foray into that. And then when I entered high school, there was a program that my high school offered, which had 3 hours of English extra per week.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, my first year of high school, there were 3 foreigners in our class, including one Finnish guy, one Japanese guy, and a Dutch girl. And they barely spoke any French. So I actually became quite good friends with the Finnish guy, and then we ended up talking a lot in English because that was the only way we could communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was
So you did undergrad in France, right?
I did, yeah. So I did all of my high school in France, undergrad in France.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not going to bore you with the details of French education, but yes, I did 4 years in France. But I technically did not have a bachelor's degree when I entered grad school.
Huh.
And the reason is because the only way to get a degree in France through the curriculum that I was doing, you were actually getting a master's degree.
I see.
And so when the University of Massachusetts accepted me, they said, so the department accepted me, thanks to a Belgian chap named Jacques Penin, was Belgian and who knew very well the French system. So he really helped me get into UMass, because the grading is vastly different in France versus the US. And so I was accepted by the program, but the grad school said, well, we need you to show us a bachelor's degree. And so my school had done this before, that after 4 years, they would make a document that said he's been studying for 4 years, so therefore he has the equivalent of a bachelor's degree.
But made up degree.
To a certain degree, yeah. I mean, to enter grad school,
that's what was required.
It was like, and then back then the head of studies was like, oh, those Americans.
That's awesome.
So
they're just like, 4 years good enough? Here's your degree, whatever.
So the interesting thing is my first year of grad school at UMass counted as my last year of my master's in France.
Wow. So you did end up with a master's.
I did end up with a master's degree in France.
So they just give you visiting scholar credit or something?
They gave me the credits from my first year at UMass.
That's pretty amazing.
And that's why, so I started grad school in 2003, but that's why my degree is in 2004. So in November of 2004, I came back to France to receive my bachelor's degree.
Game over.
Yeah.
So you walked for graduation. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So follow up on that. I mean, we love backstories on things. What led you to the polymer world? What steps along the way got you there?
Well, I guess I might be giving away some of my...
Oh, your predictions?
Some of my predictions if we go into there.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I mean, we can throw a prediction up. You want to do the top one?
Yeah, well, let's do this.
All right. Let's do this, because this is going to lead to a story of Johan's life. What I love about questions like this is there's no possible way the audience can know this unless you gave something away. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to throw up a prediction right now. If you have your standard internet units, you can gamble them on a question about Johan. Basically, these points are useless everywhere else. You might as well gamble them here. The question is, before chemistry, Johan wanted to study, was it automotive engineering or international business? Note that I don't know what search you would do to find this answer, but you can't. Google will not help you find this information unless you got a Wikipedia page.
No,
you have your life story? No.
Nope.
All right, you guys are on your own. Throw your guesses in there. Automotive engineering or international business. What did Johan want to do? You love this. There's no way the audience can know this. So let's see. Keep going. You got a game to win or lose. We'll see how this unfolds. But what have you guys learned about Johan in the last 22 minutes of this stream that would lead you to believe he was going to be an automotive engineer or an international business person before he went to polymer engineering, polymer chemistry?
Interesting.
Throw your guesses in there right now. Yeah, you can't predict how this is going to unfold. That's one of the really fun parts about this. You want to add anything to the question? I suppose anything you add will give it away.
Yeah, I think this is good.
Yeah. All right, if you guys haven't done predictions before, on the top of chat, you see this little button that says predict. Click that button and then gamble as many standard internet units as you want. If you're not following us, click the follow button. You'll get 300 free standard internet units that are getting useless for everything except for pride and maybe requesting a factoid, making us take a drink. I just got here, so mine's a wild guess. Don't worry, 10 Life Cat. I think everyone's is a wild guess. I don't know the answer, actually.
Mine was too.
I think one of the reasons I like this backstory question is everyone, like, there's some kind of impression that, we're destined to this job. And for the most part, we are wandering until we find something we love. So what was Johan's wandering? Was it automotive engineering or international business? Throw your predictions in there now. Schmonite, welcome back to the stream. Good to have you. 10 Life Cat, first time chat. Thank you for joining us. Click the follow button, get your internet units, gamble accordingly. Let's see. All right, it's closed. He was an underwater basket weaving major.
Yes.
He tried. They did make up a degree for him, so it really didn't matter. All right, Johan, which one did you want to be, automotive engineer or international business?
I wanted to be an automotive engineer.
All right.
Yeah.
So congratulations to those of you that said automotive engineer.
Was it really 50-50?
Yeah, it's 50-50. So it's 3
Okay.
to 2, but they bet almost equal amounts on each way.
Okay.
So
Interesting. Yeah. So I wanted to, all of my childhood since, aged 9 or 10, I said that I wanted to work as an automotive engineer.
entertain the masses with your expert gameplay.
Hartford.
So automotive, like that was just family interest or just you?
I grew up following quite a bit of racing, so I still look at a fair bit of Formula One.
Oh, did you lose the game? Is that what happened?
Yeah,
I missed
that's
it.
what happened.
All right. God, you let everyone down. Anyway,
I'm sorry.
You do another one?
Sure.
You're just warming up. You got this.
Sure. All right. Team select. Let's do we have a worse team? Yeah, 26th. That's good.
I love, in this version of the game, you can pick your opponent in exhibition mode. Who did you play last game?
The Hartford Whalers.
Okay. That was your mistake.
Yeah. Well, my mistake was that I'm unable to play. But yeah. So yeah, I wanted to be every time at the beginning of the year, they would ask us to fill a little paper of what you want to do, and I wanted to be an automotive engineer. And so the way to do that is to go through something called classe préparatoire in France. That's the traditional way to go about it. And so I did this, and I had a great teacher and great professor my second year, especially my second year of college in organic chemistry. And actually, the story goes a little further back. So France, I don't know if it's still the case. Maybe it's a little different. But back then, there was a lot of emphasis on math. And really, there was an order of, it was, which is kind of funny now because bio is very important nowadays. But it used to be that, it was math, then physics, then chemistry, and then biology. If you were in STEM, that was like the order of things that you were learning in high school. And so I had pretty good grades, but I had not my last year of high school, but the year before that, I had a little bit of a dip in performance. And so the math program would not take me, or the math physics program wouldn't take me, and only the physics and chemistry program would take me. And then I ended up doing my, you have an exam at the end of high school. And I got very good grades. So the math programs went back to me and said, well, actually, we'll take you. Which I said, no.
That's interesting.
Out of pride.
Yeah.
So
was it really? It was,
yeah.
You didn't fall in love with something else. It was just like,
no.
you.
Yeah. And so I did that, and I had a really good teacher who made me really enjoy organic chemistry. And so on the opposite side of the spectrum, I had a physics teacher who made me feel like I was garbage. And so
Face off.
eventually I was like thinking about continuing in the engineering world and becoming an automotive engineer, but I was like, I kind of like this organic chemistry thing. So at the last minute, when I decided to go with chemistry, but I went into polymers because for me it was the way to combine organic chemistry and maybe hopefully one day work on materials for the car industry. It never happened, but
Yeah. No, it's full circle though. I like that.
yeah,
You still have time.
yeah, I do. I don't know.
Say lightweight,
Oh yeah,
hard materials.
I mean that there's interestingly enough, so most like the maybe we'll talk about it in the predictions later, but the Formula One's monocoques are, of course, composite materials,
Yeah.
lightweight,
Post it out.
and
Yeah. They need new, better materials.
yeah, well, they're interested in sustainability. I think they were partnering with a company in Fribourg, out of all places. That's where I started my career as a junior faculty, where they use actually hemp fibers instead of carbon fibers.
I mean, but intrinsic to that sport is the burning of massive amounts of fuel, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So and you can argue, they're trying to make it greener, and it's also a circus that goes around the world with planes and trucks and so.
I mean, is this a superficial thing, or are they actually making a difference in their footprint?
Well, I think I mean, I don't know. I don't have the numbers, so I don't want to talk for them. And it might be a little bit of greenwashing. But what's interesting is that thanks to that, there is some additional research being done on synthetic fuels.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, and historically, Formula One has always been a lab for what you find in your average car.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense.
So whether I mean the efficiency of the combustion engines is incredible.
Yeah.
Of course they burn massive amounts of.
I mean, but they're maxing out the Carnot cycle on this. Like they're
and actually, interestingly enough, the problem there is often not the it's more about thermal management in these engines. It's the ability to manage thermal energy and thermal losses that makes those engines so efficient.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Man, this is a close game.
Closer.
Closer. I'll call it
For now.
closer. All right, Cuddle Puppy. Was Maya Murphy your physics teacher? Maya Murphy was last week's guest. He's an astrophysicist at FSU. but he's a super chill, well-liked instructor, so probably not him. I think Maya got a teaching award, actually, so yeah, probably not him. That sucks, though. I mean, you're re-emphasizing how much a good teacher makes a difference. Like,
I mean, in that case, it was just pretty obvious. That person. So as part of all right, I had said that I would not go into the complicated French education, but here we go.
do they give teaching awards for bullying students? Maya got it. Anyway, sorry. It's a trophy for beating up students. You have
the French, so the French elite system that Napoleon put in place to select his engineers in the military was one where at the end of high school, then you go into a 2-year program, and this 2-year program is supposed to prepare you for a competitive exam, and then based on that competitive exam, you get into this school or that school. So when I chose chemistry, I actually chose chemistry after 2 years because I entered the chemistry school in Montpellier after 2 years.
That's incredible, though. You were in a system implemented by Napoleon.
Yeah.
Man.
It was implemented for the military, and it still is very much. And there are still many traditions that date back to this time.
And that's incredible. All right, catching up on some. The Bruins are just Boston PD on ice. Talking shit about the Bruins. Cuddle Puppy. I like how there's a stat for penalty killing. I don't know much about hockey, so I choose to believe it means that the team is good at murdering people who commit penalties.
Yes, that is exactly what it is.
I'm no expert.
Although
but-
I don't know, on this game, I haven't really seen many penalties.
Yeah, I
feel
think
like-
your penalties might be off by default or might be super light or
okay.
something. Because I swear you've been offsides a few times. I
Yes.
think there's been icing too.
There's been icing, offside. I don't know why.
Yeah, we'll just call it a free for all. Oh, 10 Life Cat is Corey. Corey, welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining us. It's one of my former undergrads, actually. He's going to grad school in Canada.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, there's going to be lots of hockey there. So.
Yeah, exactly. You got to learn it. It was 1996. They were lucky if players wore helmets. Oh man, that made me feel real old. So I think most were wearing helmets by then. When was the last? Oh, that should be a
I
fun.
don't know, but I mean, definitely Gretzky. There are pictures of him without a helmet, right?
Oh man,
He was-
we're gonna do a prediction here. Oh, so in 1979, the NHL made a rule that it was mandatory for new players to wear helmets. So we're going to do a prediction right now. This is a hockey-related prediction. We're making this up on the spot. Helmetless? NHL. Don't look up this stat. We're going to see what year it was. I'm going to make it up.
What were you saying about a close game? This is.
You're getting blown out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got a hockey-related prediction because we're thinking about when players were allowed to wear helmets. So in 1979, the NHL implemented a rule that new incoming players had to wear helmets, but it means if you were grandfathered in, you did not have to wear a helmet after 1979. And so the question is, what year was the last helmetless player in the NHL? Before 1995 or after 1995? We are playing NHL 1996. Note, you're on an Ask a Scientist Gaming honor code. You can't look this up via Google. Just make your best guess. According to Corey, 1996 was way back in the day. But the question is, when was the last helmetless player?
I was 15. It's not way back.
Exactly. Well, our incoming grad students were born in like 98 and 99.
I know.
So
I know.
I think next year I'll cross the line where my freshman Gen Chem students are younger than my Yahoo Mail account.
Trying me to drink.
What's your guess? You're the last helmetless player in the NHL before 1995 or after 1995? All right. You're on third period now?
Yes.
You just got to make up 7 goals.
Easy peasy. But yeah, that physics teacher was in charge of, we had like little individual projects, and I did mine actually, interestingly enough, already on polymers. I was interested in windmills, so I went to a place where they were fabricating. There's quite a bit of wind where I grew up, and a lot of windmills. And I went to a place where they fabricated windmills, and we went to a windmill farm. And so that was my little project. And he was supposed to sign off on my document in anticipation of me being, there was a written and oral component. And depending on your ranking, you either were making it to the oral portion or not. And he thought that it was so bad that he didn't even bother to sign my thing, because he was like, "You're never going to make it to the oral part."
Jeez.
And so when I eventually had to, and since he needed to sign it, I actually had to show up at his house, and I was like, "Oh, well, I never thought you'd be able to get anything." So, yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah,
And
so
all right, choose an outcome. The answer is after 1995. So here's the line from Wikipedia right there. Craig McTavish, who played his final game during the 96-97 season for the St. Louis Blues. So does the game have Craig McTavish in it, and does he wear a helmet in NHL 96? The answer here would be no. That's pretty intense, though. It was 1979 they implemented a helmet rule. It wasn't until 1988 that they required officials to wear helmets. So officials were still on the ice without helmets through the entirety of the 80s. So, man, that's pretty intense. Congratulations, all of you that said after 1995. The answer was 1996, the version of NHL we're playing on the screen right now.
We're talking a lot about sports, but there's also a good connection between polymers and sports. And if you look at all these helmets, all the cushioning, all the polyurethane foams.
I mean, that's the reason why it didn't exist, right? They weren't. I mean, were you going to wear leather helmets in hockey? Like,
yeah, I mean, the technology has improved drastically for sure.
Yeah. I mean, but it also was a bit of a problem too. So like, MMA is better for your brain than boxing is. Mm-hmm. And the reason is, like, boxing, you have the padded gloves so you can do repeated hits. Mm-hmm. Same thing with sports. They got really good at protecting against major hits, but it allowed you to take much more smaller hits.
Yeah, there is also in football, I've heard that one of the tendency to hit with the head or to not be scared to hit with your head comes from the fact that people wear helmets. So the hits have become a lot more violent. I mean, that and, of course, more specific training. But
yeah, people are getting faster and stronger. And no, that's really intense. That was a fun detour. We learned about helmets today on Ask a Scientist Gaming.
Well, I mean, interestingly enough, at Southern Miss, this is not my research, but I have one of my colleagues, Jeff Wiggins, who has done a fair bit of work with a company that does helmets for football, and some of that technology has been transferred to the servicemen, to the warfighters.
Yeah, that's intriguing. And you are getting absolutely decimated. If
you think?
Keep it under double digits. That's your goal at this point. Oh, man, what happened? Is it the distraction of talking?
I can't, yeah.
Before the stream, you were pretty solid, right?
I'm the archetypical man. I can't talk and
play
at the same time. I have limited bandwidth.
I know. It's underappreciated how challenging this actually is, but we appreciate you joining us. For those of you not familiar, so Joan Simon is actually not an FSU professor. Most of my guests are. He's actually from University of Southern Mississippi. He drove down here today. He's actually giving a talk in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry at Florida State University tomorrow during the day. And so I've known Johan, it's almost a decade now. Yeah. We go way back, but he came down, and Justin Kinnemer and I are hosting his visit. And I asked, "Do you want to play video games and talk science?" And he foolishly said yes. So he drove here and decided to play some games tonight. All right, Cuddle Puppy has an actual science question. Is the carbon fiber technology still improving to the point where it might replace steel in a lot of cases?
I mean, carbon fiber, as I touch the microphone, I don't know, to be honest. I think there's definitely there is a lot of situations where it is. If you look at airplanes, if you look at cars, I don't know if it would be advantageous to, say, put carbon fiber in, or carbon fiber nanocomposite in lieu of rebar in a building, right? So I think that there might be some applications where it makes sense and some others where it doesn't. The one of the biggest issues that is not really talked about with carbon fiber is the actual cost and energy. I mean, if you look at, I've had the privilege to visit one of the pilot plants that they have up in Knoxville or near Oak Ridge, and it requires a lot of energy to carbonize these fibers. While they're inherently great for transportation, I mean, there's a significant cost associated with their fabrication in terms of carbon footprint. Which I learned 2 days ago. The term carbon footprint is actually a marketing thing from a company that was working with BP.
Is that a greenwashing thing?
I think it was the origin was to say, well, you don't want to really admit to it, So by using the term carbon footprint, it just convinces people to sort of avoid it. At least that's what I heard on a podcast, the Ritual podcast. If anyone's interested.
So speaking of carbon fibers, should we do the
Yeah, sure.
Kevlar question? Before we do that, what do you want to do? You want to keep playing this? You want to try something else?
Let's try something else. And we've demonstrated that my skills at NHL. There's a reason why France is not really that great at hockey.
But the passion is there. All right. Do you want to do? We got FIFA soccer. We got International Superstar Soccer. We got NBA Live 95.
Let's do NBA.
NBA. So we're gonna switch systems. We're gonna move over to Sega Genesis. All right. NBA Live.
Or as it was called in Europe, Mega Drive.
Oh, fun factoid for everyone. So Sega released several systems over several generations. But the big one that took hold in Europe and in the United States, it was called Mega Drive when released in Europe. When they brought it to the US, they changed the name to Genesis. Do you know why they did that?
I do not.
It's because Mega Drive Incorporated was a hard drive company in the U.S. They had a copyright on Mega Drive. So, yeah. Sega. Yes. Shmonite, you heard it. Speaking of which, how's the volume? Let me know if I have to turn it up or down on that. All right. We're going to do another science question while Johan picks a team and a game. We're going to put another science prediction up there. Now, this is related to the carbon fiber discussion, at least in terms of materials design and things like that. All right. So you're going to have 2 minutes. If you guys have your internet points, it's time to gamble them now. This one's a more fair question than the last helmet, but an intriguing one nonetheless. And so here's the question. What is the best solvent to dissolve Kevlar? So you can buy a Kevlar like bulletproof vest. You can buy Kevlar materials. But if you want to dissolve that Kevlar, do you use acetone or do you use sulfuric acid? The solubility question is always a fun one, right? Because like you store HF in plastic but not glass, right? And it's because of the solubility relationships. And so this is a really fun one. If you want to dissolve Kevlar and you want to put it in the solution phase, or you want to take it in, I don't know, it doesn't depolymerize, does it? Well,
no.
Let's not give away answers on this. But if you want to actually dissolve it from the solid state, do you put it in acetone, which is like nail polish remover, or do you put it in sulfuric acid, which is what you find in a lead acid battery, concentrated sulfuric acid? So yeah, throw your predictions in there now. What do you guys think? In case your house is just too full of bulletproof vests, I'm surrounded by vests. So what do I do with them? Yeah, if you're in an emergency and you need to get rid of Kevlar, Ask a Scientist Gaming is teaching you how to do that.
That's right.
All right, let's do it.
Get rid of the evidence.
The Kevlar evidence. We didn't tell you how to dissolve a body, so we're still okay. Here we go.
Yeah.
Charles Oakley, I remember him.
Storks.
Or if you have too much,
I don't know the music is
top notch.
It's top notch. Sean Kemp, yes. Deadlift Shrimp.
Rumpf.
Campbell Gill and Peyton. Gary Payton.
All right, anyone gonna throw their guess in there? Oh, that's fun. Cuddle Puppy, last minute, going with the dark horse bet.
Oof.
Any reason Seattle Supersonics?
Any reason? I think that was one of the teams that that I was playing with back in the day. So
yeah, just one of your mainstays.
Yeah.
All right, so it's closed. Johan, if I want to dissolve Kevlar and I want to get rid of it and put it into the liquid phase, what do I use? Acetone or sulfuric acid? Sulfuric acid.
All the way.
Shit. Cuddle Puppy. Oh, 2 people bet 10 standard internet units, and they got a 36-1 payout on that. Most of the audience said acetone would dissolve it. And acetone, you're right. If you're doing like polystyrene or like packing peanuts, acetone's the answer.
Kevlar is called an aramid, so it is an aromatic polyamide, and as its name indicates, because it is an amide, and this is what you have in proteins, right? You have the amide bond is what gives the structure to the proteins, and it's through hydrogen bonding. And so you need to take apart that hydrogen bonding, and on top of it, because you have aromatic groups, and because they're very carefully positioned, there's a lot of those hydrogen bonds and a lot of those aromatic pi-pi stacking interactions, which need the sulfuric acid to actually break it.
I mean, that's intense because that's just like standard Gen Chem intermolecular forces, but it's so magnified to the point it's bulletproof, which is intense.
Yeah.
Corey, see, your Gen Chem one was useful.
Yeah,
Gen Chem 2.
But bulletproof vest can also be made of, interestingly enough, polyethylene. So it's called Dyneema, and it was invented by DSM and Paul Smith, who was at ETH. And
so there's no out of bounds in this game. Like the default setting is no rules in any of these games. Like tackle someone, see if you get see if there's a penalty.
I don't know, apparently
or
not.
A foul. Sorry, we're in basketball now.
Well, I mean that's how the NBA works these days, right?
Yeah.
You just shoot from way downtown.
All I learned in Gen Chem 2 was not to buy diamonds. That's true. He took Gen Chem 2 with me, actually. That's one of my diatribes, is the natural diamond industry.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this? Do I need to rant?
Yes.
Basically, they got a monopoly on diamonds, right? De Beers and other companies. They just artificially make it more expensive than it is. They did a huge marketing campaign in the 30s where they infiltrated movie, TV, radio, everything, made it sexy, made it so you had to do it or you weren't in love, right? And they just convinced an entire generation of people that your relationship wasn't of value till you had a diamond, right? And that's one thing. They won the marketing war. That's fine. But the problem is when the synthetic diamonds started to become available, they started like trying to undermine the synthetic diamond industry as not being a real diamond, right? Like it wasn't literally the exact same composition of matter, right? And so they tried to pull that. What's worse is, natural diamonds are mostly slave labor, right? Whereas synthetic diamonds, you don't have to worry about that, right? It's engineers doing it. And so, yeah, I diatribe heavily against the natural diamond industry because it's, one, it's a racket, and two, it's, bad, right? And it's just a shiny rock. There are much more interesting rocks out there. Rubies, those are very cool. They have DD transitions of chromium. They give beautiful red emission. But yeah, diamond industry, scam. Don't buy natural diamonds. Topaz, yeah. Like, I don't have a wedding ring, but if I was going to get one, I always said, like, meteorite or dinosaur bone. Like, get something actually rare and precious and interesting, not a artificially price-inflated rock. But anyway, end of diamond diatribe. Believe it or not, this is a non-trivial portion of my reviews at the end of the semester. It's like, I regularly cycle back to it where I'm like, okay, now we're going to burn diamond.
So are all the jewelers in Tallahassee?
Do they know me by name? They should.
Okay.
Become
like,
glorious.
You're the guy who, because of you, all of our sales have gone down.
Yeah, no, it's true. Actually, no, it's because our generation is poor. So you're a millennial, right? You still fall under that umbrella?
I don't know if I do. I've heard that I was an exennial.
Exennial? Okay.
So, and you would fall in that category too. So
so I'm 82.
Yeah. So I've heard that millennial is technically 1984.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, I've seen different numbers, 81 to 84 or something, but exennial, I like it.
Yeah. So you're like half millennial, half Gen X.
Yeah. Sales hates him. Exactly. I don't even feel bad. Cease and desist letters. Throw them my way. All right. If anyone has questions for Joan Simon on polymer engineering, polymer science, your polymerization process, depolymerization, you're interested in that, sustainability, adaptive polymers that respond to light, polymers that are.
I guess I never finished the Dyneema story.
Sorry.
So Dyneema is high molecular weight polyethylene, and they found a way to align the fibers so that so the reason why your polyethylene bag is partially transparent is because of the crystallites, right? The crystallites that scatter. And so they have a certain dimension, but with Dyneema, they've actually managed to align the chains a lot more. So you have really long chains that are aligned, and that crystallinity confers the material with extreme toughness and resistance to bullets.
So George Jettison has redeemed Take a Drink. So you still have some. I got to pour some more. Speaking of which, Johan, what are we drinking tonight?
We're drinking bourbon, Angel's Envy.
So it's actually the same bourbon we had last week. A coincidence, and this was unprompted at all. I asked Johan, what do you want to drink? And he's like, bourbon. Like, that is a happy coincidence. Because I do, in fact, have bourbon. New bottle available. What do you think of this?
I like it.
It's got a vanilla flavor to it. It's like aged in port barrels.
I mean, I'm certainly not a connoisseur. I've had the great fortune to tour the Maker's Mark distillery. That was kind of fun.
That's fun. I like. Yeah.
Take a drink equals one full glass.
Oh my God, Cuddle Puppy. We debated having like a. So it costs, what does it cost? It's 500 standard internet units to make us take a drink. We thought about doing like 10,000 to take a shot or something. But like, Johan's got to talk tomorrow, so save it for tomorrow. Are you driving back tomorrow night or the day after?
The day after.
Friday, okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is a 6-hour drive.
Jeez. George Jettison, thank you again for making us take a drink. Cheers, everyone, joining us on a Wednesday night, drinking alcohol and hanging out.
Pause. Oh, wow.
10,000 Zimbabwe channel points. Man, whoever got the 36-1 payout, congratulations. That's a good one. Sulfuric versus acetone. So acetone won't do anything to Kevlar? No. Will it swell it or anything?
They will laugh at it. No, I don't think it would even swell it. I haven't done the experiment. But,
yeah, but it definitely won't.
It's definitely processed in concentrated sulfuric acid.
Wow. That is a hell of a condition to run polymers through. That's intense. All right. Yeah, anyone just joining us? Ask a Scientist Gaming, Mediocre Gameplay, Expert Science. The guest today is Dr. Joan Simon from the University of Southern Mississippi. He's from the... It's the Department
School of Polymer Science and Engineering. Yeah, that's an interesting one. We're one of the few departments in the nation, or schools, or whatever you want to call it, that is entirely dedicated to polymers. So, I mean, FSU has some great polymer people, but they're scattered across, mechanical engineering or chemical engineering and chemistry.
Mm-hmm. You guys consolidated.
So we have this consolidated, and so we're one of the few places in the nation where you can get a full education. We admit to a graduate program in polymer science and engineering. The other three that I can think of off the top of my head are UMass. That's where I got my UMass Amherst. That's where I got my PhD.
And that was in polymer science?
In polymer science. Huh. Case Western and Akron. And then there are certain places where they have a polymer emphasis. So I think MIT has a polymer emphasis, and Virginia Tech also has a polymer emphasis.
Hmm. That's pretty intense. So your applicants are chemical engineering, material science, chemistry.
Yeah, so we have people coming from all sorts of backgrounds. We have some chemical engineers, we have some chemists, we have some biochemists, material scientists, of course.
So the polymer science in your program, that's broadly defined. So there's natural polymers, there's peptide work. Does that fall under your umbrella? Yeah,
so we have one faculty who does a little bit with peptide anthophiles. So Tristan Clements, he was a postdoc with Sam Stoop. So that's like and he's interested in all sorts of biological things. But typically, we have more artificial polymers. I mean, they can be coming. Oh, that's goaltending, but whatever. I'll take it.
Well, now we know how to beat it. Stand by the goal. Yep. That's Cuddle Puppy's advice. You should follow them every place. There are no refs. There are no rules. Points are made up. Ooh, that was nice. You're in this.
Yeah, apparently basketball is more, and again, it would be logical because I think there are better French basketball players than hockey players.
XBA. Were you around when they had the XFL? They tried the NFL shoot off. That one wasn't Vince McMahon, another one was, but it was like they implemented all these sort of rules that were generally dangerous but made it more exciting. Like fair catches didn't exist anymore.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no, it was pretty. Cuddle Puppy lingerie men's basketball league win. 'Cause there was a women's football league that was yeah. Oh man, we're going on the sports rabbit holes. Like,
I guess it goes with the games that we're playing, right? So
Yeah.
it is. We used to have a sports program actually. There used to be an undergraduate emphasis on sports materials.
Huh.
I mean, the Nikes and Adidas of this world rely on a lot of polymers, right?
Yeah.
They're EVA foams and
Yeah, I mean, it's as soon as somebody makes a Nike shoe with like a non-linear response foam or something, where force down exerts more force back or something.
the engineering out of it is fascinating. I mean, to the point that there are some questions about those shoes that Kipchoge used for his marathon breaking, where because they have a carbon fiber plate and they're like, well, is that mechanical doping or? And the history is littered of things like this. When I was a kid, I used to watch it's mandatory for a French guy to watch the Tour de France, right?
Mandatory. It's a school assignment.
But you look at some of the bikes for time trials, and initially they went like crazy with those, and they had to dial it back as they said that it's just like too much. Depending on which bike you were using, it was very different.
Yeah. I mean, it's intriguing because somebody has to like analyze that and write the rules and see whether it's an actual advantage or not. I stumbled upon one of these recently in sports, the NFL kicking like the field goal length world record. And so it was set in like the 70s at 63 yards. And then recently in the last 5 years, it was beat up to 66. But the person that set the record with the 63 yard, I'll show a link right here.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Dempsey.
I have heard about it.
And so he was born without toes on his right feet. And so he had basically this specialty kicking shoe that was like a mallet, right? And it was a non-unique shape, right? But oh, go ahead. But they basically implemented a rule that all kickers had to use what was a standard shoe. They couldn't have a unique shape shoe or anything like that.
Yeah, I think there's a guy that created a kicking robot.
Yeah.
Modeled after that particular.
After Dempsey.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was one of those, they were trying to analyze whether it was an advantage, and it was like, maybe it gives you more distance, but it was less consistent kind of thing. But I love sports scientists. Somebody has to actually figure that out.
Oh, it's amazing. I had a friend who was a sports scientist when I was in grad school, and she had us run down the stairs, and then she took a biopsy of my leg.
What? Like just the exercise.
They would have us do certain things, and they would shock us while we were doing some sort of exert. I can't remember what we were doing, but I remember it being really distressing.
That was the point, right? Push the
Yeah.
muscles, lactic acid.
That was
Uncle Bill, welcome back to the stream. It's been a while. If you have questions for Dr. Joan Simon, he's happy to talk about polymer chemistry, polymer engineering, adaptive polymers, plastics, whatever it might be. Throw your questions in chat. We've gone on quite the detour because we're playing sports games, but sports science.
Can talk sports.
Non-trivial. I like
Can talk about France, whatever you want.
The World Cup this year, the new soccer ball where you can track positioning. Oh, we'll talk about the games, but but the soccer ball where you can track velocity and position. And,
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Pretty cool technology. Was that also part of Napoleon's program?
Sports engineering. I don't know how much of the physiology went through this.
Oh,
I mean, a lot of the big thermodynamics discovery were done by French people back then were through people that went through this particular program for sure.
Selected like for a generation.
The Carnot cycle that you learned for engines, right? That was
a byproduct of that. This is a game. I like it. It's close. All right. Man, I should ask some of my standard questions.
Okay.
All right, this is one of our favorites. If you had unlimited resources and no moral qualms, what experiment or study would you do? Like you could Manhattan Project, you could experiment on humans, you could do anything you want. What would you do?
No moral qualms.
Like, I mean, that's, you could damage nature, you could blow up the moon. Like, what do you want to test? What's the... There's no repercussions.
No repercussions. I mean, I would like to do something for good, right? So, I think, yeah, I would probably try to set up, at least learn how to do clean energy, but somewhere far, far away. So if we could like set up like a nuclear reactor on the moon or something like this to have cleaner energy. I mean, there's some great advances coming out. There's Lawrence Livermore that that had like a nanoseconds of positive fusion,
yeah.
Right?
It's got to start somewhere. So you dive into that, you know, I mean, it would be nuclear related. Like you could start a new field if you wanted.
I guess I'm not creative enough to think of a better source of energy, but I mean, I think that, and ultimately that's what, to me, that is one of the limits of the human frontiers, right? It's energy. Like how do you have sustainable energy that will help us, you know, leave our little rock?
Yep.
So yeah, that would be one that I would be interested in.
I think it's I fully agree with you. It's the fundamental limit of our progress, right? When you think about everything in terms of, like you said with Kevlar, like it's energetically expensive to do it. But if you can make it sustainable or you have unlimited energy, you could recycle anything, process anything, manufacture anything. Transportation, that's a huge energy cost. Lighting.
I mean, I literally shut the person.
It's fine. There was no foul.
Yes.
High game.
But yeah, I mean, we've been dependent on cheap, carbon-intensive energy.
Yeah.
For the longest time, and our entire society and our entire.
It's geopolitical. Like all of the landscape is shaped by energy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's intense. Well, that's why I mean, it's underappreciated, but the Department of Defense has basically said climate change and energy are like their number one concerns. So that's, I mean, foundational to what the U.S. military is something like the 5th highest consumer of energy in the world. Like even compared to most countries, it's crazy.
Yeah, I believe it.
Boya did all his work in the French Legion in Egypt. I did not know that. That's fun. More French contributions. In the program you came out of. What went wrong?
It quickly went downhill. It was like foyer, then
and Dr. Simone. No, but you told him you didn't want to do math, so you won that battle.
I mean, I liked math.
Yeah,
It's just
that sucks. That one professor just.
Yeah. He was a physics professor. I still remember his name. I'm not gonna mention him.
You gave a shout out to the ones that you liked, so
Yeah.
good on you. But yeah, it takes one professor to change your career, good or bad. They will change the direction. I like it.
Yeah, no, and I still think very much. I mean, I still have those classes from my chemistry professor in college. For sure.
That's awesome. All right, we should throw up another prediction because it's 9-10. We usually don't hit all of them. Which one do you want to do?
Let's do this guy. Yeah.
Sports related.
Sports related. Yeah, let's
Potentially sports related.
potentially sports related.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to throw another prediction up there. This one has to do with cross-linked rubbers. All right, if you're not following, click the follow button, use your 300 standard internet units, and gamble on this question. You're on Ask a Scientist Gaming honor code. Don't Google the answer, just do it from what you know while watching Johan play basketball. 4 minutes left. It's a pretty close game. We'll see how it unfolds. But what we want to know is, what is the first known crossed rubber was used for? And when you say crossed rubber, what do you mean, Johan?
Cross-linked. So cross-linked materials. So you have two types of
you have
materials.
2 minutes to get this out.
Yeah, two types of materials. Typically, your thermosets and your thermoplastics. So when people think plastics, they think of thermoplastics. So that's a polyethylene. That's a material that you can process. It's essentially a long noodle or a bowl of noodles. And if you provide enough, it's really hard to untangle the noodles. But if you provide enough energy, then you can make them flow. Mm-hmm. A thermoset is essentially a mesh.
And so this cross-linked is...
Cross-linking
mesh.
just means that you take small molecules and you make a giant mesh out of it.
And so what was the first use of that mesh, or the first known use of synthetic cross-linked rubbers? Was it erasers, or was it for a ball game related thing? We haven't specified what ball game, because that might give you timelines or whatnot. But we'll say eraser, or was it used for sport of some kind? What was the utility of cross-linked polymers? I mean, now they're ubiquitous, but somebody had to come up with a first use.
Well, yeah, I mean, your tires are evidently an example of a cross-linked rubber. Your polyurethane foams that you're sitting on comfortably at home on your couch. That's an example of a cross-linked rubber.
Oh, eat it. Oh, nice.
Yes.
Up by 4, 2 minutes and 47 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. All right, 2 seconds. All right, Johan, what's the answer? What was the first cross-linked rubber used for?
Ball game.
Ball game. Which ball game?
So the Mesoamericans were found to take some sap of a tree. I think it was called, I can't remember, Castilla something. And they mixed it with Morning Glory, and that cross-link, they heated it up, and they created the ball game that they were using for. It was part of their ceremonies. They had some sort of.
Is this Mayan basketball? Is that what it was?
Something like this.
That's the one they play in, what's that movie? The cartoon one. It's from the 90s. Road to El Dorado, is that the one? Yeah.
Maybe.
Mayan basketball.
And anyway, so the interesting thing is that I have been talking about this factoid when I was giving talks about cross-link systems and cross-link materials.
Yeah.
And the person who was part of this study, there was a study done in the early 1990s, was the wife of my PhD advisor, and I did not know that until I looked a little more carefully into the original paper.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty fun.
fun fact.
I mean, so they didn't really know what they were working with. They just knew it had properties they liked for the most part.
By the way, do you know why it's called a rubber?
No.
Well, the rubber was the name that the I think the Brits still call it rubber for an eraser.
Yeah. In the U.S., we call rubbers condoms, but
yes. Well, I mean,
clarify that. Yeah,
yes.
eraser.
but when you say tire rubber, it's it actually originates from the fact that they were. That was violent.
Oh,
really?
Oh, wow. No pressure.
I can run the clock, right?
Yeah, but if they get one steal, you're in trouble. Oh, they're double teaming you too. Oh, like the tension. Let it build. Oh, off the back of the backboard. No!
I just like to.
Got this. You got this. Get it out of there. 24 seconds. I think you're just going to run around. You could have played it out. All right.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, Johan kills the clock. You guys have, 11 seconds. You got this.
Pressure's
Buzzer
on.
beaters, ladies and gentlemen. This is the gameplay entertainment you come here for. Throws it full court. 4.9. 5.
Come on.
4, 3, 2. That was an early.
Oh, no.
Get it up there. Oh my God. That was amazing. He hit a half court end of the game buzzer beater.
Oh, man. Well, that was closer than hockey.
Life Cat, I'm assuming NMBGA is National Mayan Ball Game Association 97. 1697? What year would that have been? Mayan Ball Game. Holy crap, I can't believe you just lost that. From a half-court shot with 5 seconds left. Oh. Is that rage? That merits a Minucci rage. That was a brutal loss. I apologize.
Yes.
So it goes. You gonna play another one, or you want to try something else?
Oh, we can do something else.
Just 97. Since it's National League, it has to take place in the nation of Maya. True.
Yes.
All right. What do you want to do? A bunch of games. We have FIFA Soccer. We have International Superstar Soccer.
Let's do FIFA.
FIFA 96, the one you were playing earlier.
Mm-hmm.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to transition to the Super Nintendo. We're going to go to some soccer. Man, that was a brutal loss. I apologize for experiencing that.
It's part of the game.
I mean, you did try to kill the clock by running around. If you would have played your game, would you have pulled that out? I don't know.
I don't know.
All right, FIFA Soccer 96. You have any thoughts on the last World Cup?
I mean, two good teams. One had to win. We didn't win. I'm actually less angry than I thought I would be. I think it was a great. The final was just outworldly.
Yeah. It's fun games, at least.
Yeah. I have to pick France.
Man, so when was the modern eraser invented? Because synthetic polymers.
I think. Well, the first examples of erasers were like in the 1700s. They were using natural rubber.
I see.
And the proper cross-linking did not take place until, well, proper understanding of cross-linking or rediscovery of cross-linking did not occur until Charles Goodyear in the 1800s.
So that was the vulcanized rubber. Yeah.
Vulcanization process.
So what is the vulcanization process?
Sulfur bridges that you build in the natural rubber. So natural rubber is has some double bonds that you just cross-link with, sulfur.
So it's not a disulfide; it's just literally a sulfur bridge.
It's multiple. So it can be up to like 8 sulfur in a row. So a sulfur chain.
Corey, that's a really solid dad joke. Vulcanization turns it into Spock. Because,
Yes.
Don't laugh at that. Don't give him the satisfaction of laughing at that. But now you can use that in class.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not really a Trekkie. I did appreciate it.
Well done. So soccer, that was your primary sport?
Soccer was my primary sport. I was a central defender.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We got disconnected from the internet. No idea how that happened, but we had pretty major storms going through, so we apologize for, I don't think it was a rage quit. It should have been after that shot. But yeah, we apologize for being disconnected from the stream, but thankfully back. No, we did not do a sign off. We're going to stay on until 11 o'clock. Hopefully you guys can see and hear us again. You guys are on stream. I'm going to double check our connection just to make sure, but resume game, and I think we should be back on. Can you guys see us? Are we live? Rage quit. That's awesome. All right. Yes, we are back on stream. Oh, I apologize for that. I don't know what happened to our internet. Actually, there was a tornado just south of Tallahassee earlier today.
Oh, really?
You caught up to all that, but yeah. So I don't know if this was related to that, but I apologize, everyone. We got disconnected briefly, but we are back on the stream. So if you guys have questions, throw them in chat.
Yeah, that weather thing went through Hattiesburg last night.
Oh, it did. So you slept through that.
Yeah, sort of. But
how bad was it?
I think it was worse south of us. So.
All right, I'm gonna go check Debbie's computer just to make sure.
Oh yes.
Nice.
Oh, she's not out. That's funny.
Man, I really don't know what happened there. I'm gonna test our connection quick just to see. Yeah. So we're back, but our notification went out. I'm really at a loss for. I apologize. We got cut off midstream. All right, what were we talking about? I don't even remember.
I think we were gonna do.
Oh, the prediction. No. Oh, that prediction got cut off too before the decision could be made. So lost that one. All right, we'll complete it. Top sprint. Maybe somebody got some points off that, but it doesn't matter because we got disconnected and everything reset.
Yes.
Live energy.
The top was sprint. I did not go a single inch up that rope.
Like you couldn't, or you just didn't?
I just wasn't able to.
It's a different climbing. It's a different skill.
I have zero upper body strength.
Yeah. Soccer player, you didn't need it?
Actually, yeah. Actually, before COVID, I had picked up a little bit of judo.
Oh, that's fun.
And so they had me go up the rope a couple of times. So I eventually managed to realize that a lot of it was just I have no strength in my triceps.
And you just didn't need to. That's intriguing.
For soccer, you don't really need strength in your tricep.
That's
it's
fair.
not particularly advantageous.
Yeah. Man, we got completely thrown out of our rhythm with the internet going down. Yeah, streams live, so that's good. We completely lost our audience on that one. Believe it or not, we've had 50 streams, and that's the first time the internet has cut out during this. So I don't know what happened. I'm assuming it's weather related. Any trees that go down, like Tallahassee, there's just a lot of trees and a lot of wind and storms. And
Yeah, fun fact for those of you who do not know Tallahassee, it's a lot hillier than you would think.
it really is. We're not that close to the coast. Like you drive south and it'll start.
Yeah, but you're
plane around.
closer than we are.
Yeah.
And South Mississippi is very flat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do have some terrain. Pros and cons. What's the worst accident you've seen in lab? Either your lab or a lab you've been in.
So, worst accident in my lab? Actually happened pretty recently. I mean, it wasn't, well, I'm not going to minimize it, but like someone left some concentrated hydrochloric acid in a rotovap. Quantities to be determined, but leave it to say that we have now implemented some ways to clean up the rotovap after we use concentrated acid.
Like they were boiling off acid? They were...
Yeah, I think they were using, yeah, I don't exactly know. I can't remember what was the reaction, but yes. So now we're just making sure that we're cleaning it with acetone after.
So what happened? It went up through the vacuum lines, or?
There's a disagreement as to how much there was in the trap versus just in the like just on the walls of the rotovap.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, it was just not handled properly.
Oof. So you implemented new strategies.
Yeah. Because the person that used it afterward had like whiffs of hydrochloric acid.
Oh my God!
Burning.
No, I've had that happen before. That is a terrible feeling.
So yeah. The worst that terrible. The worst thing that I've seen was actually an explosion, where people had mixed waste. And so that's why in my lab we have separated waste. Everyone
like
knows.
Organic with oxidant or something?
I don't know what happened, but essentially it's like different people mixing stuff, and then it was in one of those glass containers. I mean, it was in secondary containment, and it was in a metal cabinet. But the blast was sufficient to blow out the cabinet open, bend the door.
Holy
and
crap!
Then there was like shards of glass that were everywhere.
That was a lab you were part of?
Yes.
Wow.
I was in front of that cabinet 10 seconds before that.
Jeez. Holy crap! But nobody got hurt. It was just damage internal.
For this one, yeah. I have two lab mates who had incidents with either vacuum distillation or condensed oxygen.
Ooh.
And then warmed it up too quickly, and that exploded in his hand, so he almost lost some use of his right hand.
That's how Sharpless lost an eye, actually.
And then the other one was butadiene, which is used to make polybutadiene, typical rubber, is a gas. And so when he tried to condense it, I think he made a wrong. He didn't do it properly, and that also exploded. So he ended up having like shards of glass in his stomach.
Jeez.
Yeah, so chemistry is dangerous, and you have to pay attention to what you're doing.
I mean, a lot of it's vacuum glassware related. That's brutal.
Yeah.
So follow up on that. What's the most expensive mistake?
Most expensive mistake that I have had in my lab.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
As an assistant professor, you remember these because they're expensive typically.
Actually, they've been pretty good, I would say.
No major equipment fraud.
Not really. I mean, I think a vacuum gauge is probably the most expensive thing that they've mishandled, but
That's not bad.
it's not bad. Yeah, no, it's been pretty. They've been pretty good.
What's the most expensive mistake you've made?
What's the most expensive mistake I've made? I mean, mostly like dropping compound that took me several weeks to synthesize.
That sounds about right. Hundreds of $1,000s worth of, yeah. And we had a porphyrin where we dropped it on the floor and just stained the floor green, but I mean, it takes you 10 steps to get there. That is
I mean, it makes for cool parties in line. You put some black light and
just glow up the room. No, photophysics, black light, you don't want to do it in your lab. You see it, like your computer, your chair, your desk, it's everywhere. It's a good safety check, but man, it just shows you how bad we are at containing our chemicals. What's the score? I haven't been keeping track.
I'm losing. I think 3-1 maybe.
3-1. Soccer, that's a lifetime of scores. You got time. You're just second half, right? I don't remember in this one. Do you control the goalie at all?
No.
Man, my favorite factoid, NHLPA hockey, the other version of hockey they had for the Super Nintendo and Sega.
Yeah.
There was this awesome glitch when you started the game that if you were doing a one-player game and you started the game, you could pause it as the second player and remove the goalie, and it would take the computer's goalie away. And then you go back in and you play a goalie-less game. Like you could just rack up the score because you didn't have a goalie the entire time.
Crazy.
All right, so science career, we talked about your journey from wanting to do automotive engineering to going to the polymer world. I mean, you spent a journey in the U.S., then you went you went to ETH, right?
Yeah, I went to ETH for my postdoc.
Yep.
And then I was a maître assistant or junior group leader or junior faculty from 2009 to 2015. And then started as a faculty at Southern Miss in 2016.
So what was if you had one, what was your I made it as a scientist moment? What was your?
I don't know if I've made it yet.
But I'm no longer an amateur. I've gone pro. What was your?
I mean, there are small things every now and again but I mean, certainly, I think the NSF career was a nice one for sure.
It's a milestone.
But to a certain degree, it's also getting invites from places that you idolize, right? I got to give a talk at Georgia Tech this year. I'm gonna go give a talk at Caltech. I mean, those are places that I view as amazing places where outstanding scientists. I gave a talk at Berkeley also earlier this year.
Oh wow!
So yeah, I mean, just having an opportunity to give talks at these places is
and FSU tomorrow.
Which, if you're into photophysics, it is one of the best places to.
You'll get to see Kasha's building.
Yeah, and actually in polymer science, there's a remarkable group of people doing polymers at FSU. So.
Yeah. All right, soccer's done. You want to play another one?
Sure. Let's do something else.
What do you want to do?
We can do.
We have Super Kit. That one kind of works. International Superstar Soccer. We've done these. We've done NBA. We've done NHL.
Yeah.
Could do Command and Conquer or
sure.
Sim
Let's do.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna play some SimCity 2000. This is one of the. I think the earliest was SimCity, and this was the follow-up. This started the whole Sim franchise. I mean, you should definitely do easy mode.
Yes.
Because this is the one where you could like add disasters and stuff, right? Like hurricanes and earthquakes and. All right. Do you want another drink? Do you want a beer or something?
Yes, I'll have the Belgian beer. If you
Belgian,
don't.
the Duval.
Yeah.
The Belgian strong blonde. All right, so this was another one you and your brother played early on PC. This was college days.
This was college days. Okay. Okay, so I can't remember how I zoom in. Can I zoom in? Or is it just that my eyes are...
I honestly don't remember. This is the one I remember playing, and it was one of those, like, you made a decision early on to make a super organized city or just a mess of a city.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there you go.
Here we go.
Are you building hydroelectric? Is that the...
I was trying to build a plant. To build a road.
I don't remember how this worked. You needed, like, pipes and roads and electricity.
Right. Did I need a... All right, let's do houses. So we'll do...
Right. Well, you're struggling to get your city started. Let's go with some science. What of your science right now are you just most excited about? Like your post tenure, you have some freedom to pursue.
Yeah. What I'm most excited about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited at the prospect of going more into the aspects of sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, this is not an easy field.
Yeah.
I mean, there are lots of things that that intersect, right? There's a little bit of what do I need to get this started?
What did you build there? What is that?
I think that's a power plant, no? Isn't it?
I don't know what those are. It looks like business buildings.
This looks like business buildings.
Roads. We're making it up as we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of the first games where you got to construct a world and you had basically unlimited variables.
Let's do a police station.
That'll help. Was that a hospital? No, that's a police station.
That's the police station. But
What is the water thing?
Power
Power plant needed.
I thought this was a power plant. Is it not a power plant?
Let me look.
Dense industrial, dense commercial, dense industrial.
So there's a way you can select your power plant.
Can't remember. Power plant. There we go. Hydroelectric.
There we go. Sustainability with the theme.
Well, yeah. I mean, I couldn't possibly.
I mean, so how big of a shift in
They
direction?
can only be placed on waterfall tiles. So.
How big of a shift in direction is that for you? Like sustainability.
I mean, yeah, that's an interesting question. So, a lot of the things that we've worked with have to do with supramolecular interactions. So you can say, breaking materials through supramolecular interactions is something that should be relatively easy.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's do coil. That won't let me do it here.
You gave up the coal plant. Just easier. More profitable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are a lot of things that we do, and a lot of the dynamic covalent bonds that we've been using also are. I don't know why I should have done the road first, but whatever. So there are a lot of things that we do that are connected. To a certain degree. What's missing in this equation is, I mean, I can design all of the things that I want from even sustainable sources. How do I know that this is even viable? And so, like, let's say in Mississippi, pecans are a big industry, right? So you can say, well, I don't want to use something. I don't want to grow necessarily something specifically to make polymers, but I want to use the whatever off products or byproducts of a given industry, and well, I don't know realistically in how many pecan shells and what outcome we can really get out of pecan shells, right? If I'm taking this as an example because it's one that is pertinent to the state of Mississippi.
I mean, that's part of the problem, just knowing what problems exist that need to be solved.
Yeah, to a certain degree, yeah, we do have some expertise, but putting it in the context of real life problems is not always easy.
Yeah. So how are your industry ties in your school of polymer?
They're pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are a very applied area, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the things with polymer science. But I wish that I think we could do a better job at interfacing with industry. I mean, so some of our faculty have worked in industry for a little bit, and so they have that mindset, and they can do that. That seems to be jiving with companies. I'm a pure academic, so and we've had some successful collaborations with industry, but it's not always.
Yeah, well, it's hard to build and create, and And until you have funding to pursue something, it's an inherent problem. Yeah. So for anyone just seeing SimCity 2000 for the first time, what is the goal of this game?
The goal of this game is to maintain a prosperous city. So I'm a little rusty on that, but
There's like a happiness rating. There's dollars income.
that's right. So right now you can see up top the amount of money that I spent. It's a little bit like building a lab.
So
There's happiness rating. There's income.
there's health and well-being.
Health and
There's
well-being.
Natural disasters.
So property
man.
taxes.
That would be the most popular game ever. The Sim Lab, Sim Assistant Professor.
Yeah, so I'm not doing a good job, right? Because I don't have enough people living here. So
Is that housing?
I've built expensive things.
Well, you have housing right next to a power plant, right? Don't they penalize you for that?
Yeah, to a certain degree.
And my favorite part about this game is you build this like epic city and you'll cover the entire map with the city. And at some point you're just like, it's time for natural disasters. We're just going to burn everything to the ground.
But towards the end, they have like robots and everything coming through the city, and it's like, if you're patient enough,
Yeah.
it can get pretty. Let's see. Do I have like?
All right, so I'll get back to some of the science questions. So, I mean, there are misconceptions everywhere about the sciences. What is like one thing you wish every person on Earth understood about polymers or your field? Like, what's the...
Well, I mean, so going back to sustainability, I think there's well, first of all, currently, like everyone is being a good citizen and putting things in the recycling bin, but it's actually not that trivial to do recycling.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part number one. And the reason why that is that for the longest time we've been asking our materials to do certain things and to be durable and to perform certain tasks, and we're surrounded by polymers. I mean, if I look, right, I'm sitting on the polymer. The paints that you have here are polymers. Everything around here, everything that our modern world is based on polymers, right? And so it's people now come to a realization that, well, especially for single-use plastic, there's probably better ways to handle this.
Yeah.
But you can't also completely go without polymers altogether because they're just so prevalent, and there's not necessarily always quote unquote greener alternatives.
Yeah. So plastics have become a swear word in recent times, right?
Yes.
Because of microplastics, and there's good reason for some of that.
And I'll be the first one to say that. And so we have a pretty strong ocean engineering program at Southern Miss. And so we're collaborating to find ways to remediate this and identify the plastics. So this is a real problem. But it's a very difficult thing because now people want to use the plastics and they want all the convenience of it, and then they want it to magically disappear, and it's not how that works.
Yeah.
As we know, the chemistry just does not work like that.
Yeah.
And there's some fantastic work coming out of one of our former undergrad and graduate student. Brooks Abel, who invited me at Berkeley. He's now a professor there. He did his postdoc at Cornell, where they worked on polyacetals, and those are wonderful materials. And I think they're working with companies to scale that up. And it works based on the principle of ceiling temperature of polymers. When you go above a high enough temperature, then you revert back to the monomers. You depolymerize the material.
So this is related to Huggy Beer. Huggy Beer, welcome back to stream. You've got us at an interesting time. Our internet crapped out about 20 minutes ago, so now we're just recovering from that. But thank you for joining us. Huggy Beer wants to know, is there a good way to break down polymers? I mean, you talked about depolymerization. There's certain polymers that go to monomer.
Well, it depends. Of course, it depends on the polymer, right? If you have an ester, a polyester, it's a lot easier. Depending on the ester, it's more or less difficult. PET, which is your standard plastic bottle, there are now pretty good ways about breaking it down, and that's one of the easiest plastics to recycle. Now you take polyethylene, you just have carbon-carbon chain, and it's a lot harder to recycle.
So polyester, you're talking about just like soda bottles and things like that.
Yeah.
And then
That's the polyethylene terephthalate.
Okay.
But even then, for the longest time, people were touting the virtues of PLA, and PLA is a polyester, and it can be broken into into lactic acid. But it's actually not easy to. And they had on some of the glasses that they had something that said compostable. Well, it's not necessarily compostable as much as it is industrially compostable. So you need to have the right conditions, the right enzymes, in order for this to take place. And so, and actually, so polylactic acid, so PLA, or you have a copolymer of polylactic acid and polylactide and polyglycolide. That's what you have in your sutures, the ones that are self-resorbable, that you don't need to go back to the doctor to remove them. And it's because your body has an innate ability to break down ester bonds, right? You have esterases in your body that can break it apart. But it's so if you have ester bonds, it's relatively easy to break. If you have amide bonds, like a polyamide, it becomes a little more complicated. If you have carbon-carbon bonds, it becomes almost impossible. And the majority of polymers in metric tons are either are mostly polyethylene or polypropylene. So they're polyolefin-based systems, and they have certain limitations in how they break down.
And that's not to say it's impossible. It's just we don't have current methods to do so.
Right. I mean, there's some work where people are using catalysts, really expensive catalysts. But if you look at the weight percent of catalyst that you need to put into that, that's just not currently not feasible.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's not worth pursuing, but it's just.
I mean, there's also like biological enzymatic bacteria digestion processes people are working on. Or you could throw Kevlar and sulfuric acid is what we learned earlier. George Jettison, thank you for joining us again. We apologize. The internet crapped out at my house, so we were offline for a good 10 minutes or so, and now we're just back building up again. We also decided to start playing some SimCity 2000. So this is one of the earliest sim games, basically building a city, trying to keep people happy, making enough tax money to maintain your city. Yeah, one of the earliest sim games.
Water shortage.
We shouldn't be using cats to break up polymers. Peter gets upset. A catalyst. I get it.
Okay.
Is that a dad joke? All right.
Actually, interestingly enough, we were talking about vulcanization earlier.
Yeah.
Cows have the ability to process sulfur. So when I was a PhD student, Dick Ferris at UMass was doing some experiments with the stomach of cows and digesting rubber, digesting tires.
So they were just testing whether it could?
Yeah. And actually, it works. It breaks it apart. I mean, I can't guarantee that there's
negative repercussions of that. Holy crap. So they just have a sulfide cleaving enzyme of some kind, and that works on rubber as well?
Correct.
Wow. So a cow can theoretically digest a vulcanized tire. Or at least not.
In theory, yeah.
Can break it down and pass it through the system at least. That's pretty intense. George Jettison wants to know, do you have an idea of how much plastics we put in our recycle bins actually get recycled?
Very little. So it also means, it also depends what you mean by recycled. So, I mean, like many of you have always used the term recycled with the idea of, these little arrows that you see. And you think of the concept of circularity, right? I have something and then I can reuse it to do the same thing. Well, that is a closed loop recycling, and that's actually only about 2% of. Well, I guess I'm giving away.
No worries.
But there's not these many people following, anyways.
Yeah.
So closed loop recycling is about 2%. And then there are things that is called downcycling, where let's say you have a plastic bottle and then you make a rug out of it.
I see.
And that's downcycling. So that means that it gets used again, but not to a product of the same quality.
So how does that work? Closed loop, you're using the exact same polymer chain for the same.
So polyethylene terephthalate, for instance, you can definitely create. There's water shortage. That's why people are.
Your pipes don't have water.
How do I create the water?
So 2% are closed loops where it actually goes back and is reused in the same manner again. Oh, that has water.
No, it does.
Got to connect the line.
We'll do.
So what was the percentage that gets downcycled? So you turn it into park benches and whatever it might be.
I think something like 7 or 8%. I mean, I don't have the exact numbers in my head, but that's something like that. You have a total of about 10% that gets put back into some sort of loop, even though it's not like the closed loop. It goes into like things that might be.
And the other 90%?
And the other 90%, some of it gets, people litter and dump it. And it can be also simply like, now the garbage trucks are a little better than what they used to be, but they used to have the back that was completely open. And you had garbage that was
dumping out the back. Non-trivial percent.
Some of it gets landfilled, some of it gets incinerated.
So follow up on the cow digestion question. So can we not reproduce those conditions outside of the cow? I mean, like the enzymes in the stomach, it's acidic conditions. I mean, we can, but it's one of those, like, there's an energy and a financial cost. There you go. There's an energy and a financial cost. Is we can do pretty much anything you can imagine. We can make anything you can imagine. We can process anything you imagine. It's just, is it cost effective, and is it easier just to make new stuff? Right? I mean, that's what it usually comes down to.
I mean, there's definitely a cost incentive that is currently not right.
Yeah.
Right. There's the way things are built is that you're not the cost doesn't factor in what the downstream costs will be for society to deal with having those plastics.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I don't know what's happening to our internet connection, but it's dropped several times during the past however many minutes we've been on stream. I think it has something to do with the storm that went through today. It was actually a pretty big storm. We had a tornado warning through Tallahassee and through FSU. Igor Alabugan, my colleague down the hallway, came down and he said, oh, supposedly we could see the tornado from our window. So, yeah, relatively big storm. I'm assuming that's what knocked out our internet. I apologize. We are back. We're discussing recycling. Not only that, we're talking about cow digestion and enzymes in the cow's stomach. I mean, there is work to reproduce that type of enzymatic control of polymerization, depolymerization. Is that going on in your department at all?
Yeah, I mean, definitely there is some interest in those aspects. We don't do that because there are people who do it better than us. I think we're more interested in thermosets and reprocessable thermosets. So that has been more the focus. I think in order to go more towards the proper depolymerization approach, especially for thermoplastics, you need to be a real chemist, and I'm too much of a polymer chemist.
A real chemist.
No, but it's true. I mean, and there are people who do some great work in the field of polymer chemistry that come more from a, small molecule background.
Yeah.
And certainly, I think this is the type of expertise that you need when you go in there. I mean, not to say that there aren't people who are classically trained as polymer chemists that can't do the job, but it's just.
I mean, it's a fundamentally hard problem. What I like about polymer chemistry in the grand scheme of the sciences, it is very young, right? I mean, we're talking post World War II when synthetic polymers started to pick up, right? And now we're just starting to get a grasp on how to control it and the implications of it. So I can definitely appreciate that. But yeah, anyone just joining us, we are back again. We've been on and off stream because our internet connection has been absolute garbage. But thank you for joining us. Our guest today is Dr. Joan Simon. He's an expert in polymer chemistry, polymer engineering. He does a whole lot of work on making functional polymer materials and tuning their properties based on whatever desired task you may want. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them in chat. Huggy Beer has one. Are polymers found in nature, or is that not a thing? That's a good question.
Are polymers found in nature?
Well, let's start with this. What's the fundamental definition of a polymer?
All right. Poly is multiple, mer is units. So multiple units. Depending on how broad you want to go in terms of the definition, I mean, you can argue that DNA, right, you have 4 types of units that are repeated in a controlled fashion. That's a polymer.
Peptides, amino acids.
Peptides, amino acids. But even beyond that, I mean, the term natural rubber is the sap from the Hevea tree, and that's the first type of polymer that people were using. I mean, sap from trees, right? So there are natural polymers for sure.
Mm-hmm. Spider webbing, that's a really good one. That's an intriguing problem that people are still working on.
Yeah.
Despite what the movie Spider-Man would have you believe, we cannot reproduce spider webs in lab.
Nope.
How close are we? Are we good at all at doing that?
Not that I know of.
I mean, what is it? It's the composition plus the directionality of how it's spun. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's a combination of the chemistry. It's a combination of the. I think I've actually created a stupid bridge.
That's what we do here on Ask a Scientist.
Yeah.
Oh, and then he blows it up. Where's your sustainability now, Johan? No worries. But spiderweb, that's a $1 billion problem.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. I mean, there's a processing is, I think, through those spinnerets that the spiders have is complex. And some people look at things like electrospinning and they try to emulate this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's interesting. Oh, tornado warning. Speaking of,
yeah, exactly. This game's hyper realistic.
Yeah.
I apologize again for the disconnect, ladies and gentlemen. We've done 50 streams. This is actually our 51st stream of Ask a Scientist Gaming, and this is the first time we've had our internet disconnect at all, and it happened to us twice tonight. So, Johan, I'm very sorry. You drove here 5.5 hours from southern Mississippi to join us for us to crap out on the internet. But nonetheless, you got to build your city.
Yes.
How's it going?
It's not going terribly well, but
You're not net tax positive yet?
No. I don't know what I need to do to make it.
1022. Oh, what? Do you think that's a problem that requires some truly micro machines to replicate the spinnerets? I mean, 3D printers that mimic a spider motion, is that?
I mean, yeah, I don't know enough about it. Potentially.
Because it's not just composition of matter, right? It's processing problem with spider webs.
There's also a processing problem of like how you align the polymer in such a way that you create those favorable interactions to give the strength to the material.
Go Haku, welcome back to the stream. What is this SimCity? You are correct. This is actually SimCity 2000. So we went through quite a journey already tonight. We did NHL 96. We did FIFA Soccer 96, NBA 95. We tried a little Command and Conquer, but that kind of crapped out on us. But now we're on to SimCity 2000, which is a classic game. Essentially, you're building a city from the ground up, including electrical and water lines, and trying to make people happy and, I don't know, make a profit. Is that... I mean, so you have 7 minutes before we're going to start NARC. So do you want to burn your city to the ground?
We can, for sure.
You might as well start your natural disasters and see how it unfolds.
This is not really looking all that great.
Anyone that's interested, we're actually playing this through a browser right now. So you can download abandonware, like old games that aren't useful anymore, or you can literally play SimCity or SimCity 2000 inside a browser. So search for Play SimCity and you can actually play it if you want. But yeah, this is one of their early Sims games, led to the entire Sim franchise, ranging from SimAnt to Sims to Roller Coaster Tycoon. That was a derivative of SimCity. But yeah. But all that aside, if you guys have questions for Polymer Chemist / Polymer Engineer, Joan Simon is happy to answer those questions if you throw them in chat. Yeah. While we have 6 minutes left before everyone's favorite game, NARC will be appearing soon. You excited?
Yeah.
So sometimes I've warned guests that they're going to play NARC. Other times I just let them drive 5 hours from Mississippi, and then I tell them they're playing this game at the end of the night. Wasn't there a SimEarth first? I recall my 8th grade science teacher playing something like that. I remember playing a bootleg copy of SimCity 2000 back in the day. Me too, Uncle Bill. I completely agree. It was a heavy-duty game back in the day, and now it runs in browser, which is absolutely breathtaking. I want to look it up, so we need to know an answer to this. The Sim franchise, what was the first Sim game? All right, SimCity was the first one. That was 1989. That's the original SimCity, not the one we're playing right now. SimEarth was 1990, SimAnt 1991, SimLife 92, SimFarm, and SimCity were 1993. So this is actually the 5th game in the first Sims franchise. And now we have Sims, yes. All right, George Jessen wants to know, is there any area of polymer / material science that you think is the most promising for cool sci-fi future tech? What's the sexiest branch of polymer chemistry right now? The 3D printing stuff's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be done in polymers, especially conjugated polymers, and like being undetected, radar cloaking, things like this, like meta materials, so that essentially an enemy would not be able to see you.
Yeah.
I think that's something where you can collaborate with very good physicists. And
I mean, along those lines, there's a lot of work in lensing, right? And lenses, and it's mostly plastic processing, trying to get like negative refractive index, nonlinear optics. And I mean, you work in some of that light processing polymer chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
That's some sci-fi stuff. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. You want to do some disasters? Can you introduce?
Can I introduce some disasters? Let's see. How do I go about this?
I could have swore you could. But Uncle Bill, your question, SimCity, the original, I just looked it up. It was for a whole bunch of systems like Commodore 64. It was running on MS-DOS computer, Mac OS system. Super Nintendo had a version of Sim, so did Windows, ZX Spectrum. So it was console and PC. But yeah, kudos to the Sims for infiltrating our culture, and now we do have Sims. Sorry, Go Haku. You have to start somewhere.
How do I do disasters?
Natural disasters. I don't remember. Anyone remember how to do Uncle Bill? Do you
Oh, I
remember?
guess it says disasters up top.
Yeah, multi-platforms right out the gate. Before they had exclusivity deals. There's our earthquake. Is that what happened?
15 killed and quake.
You caused that. How does that
Centering
feel?
to hurricane warning.
I think, yeah, hit the box. Maybe zoom out. Do you remember how to zoom? Yeah.
The airplane arise.
Zoom out. Yeah. You did all this work to build a city, and now you're just dropping airplane crashes and hurricanes. Oh, I like it. All right.
Disasters. Air crash.
This was pre 9/11 because you could never get away with this
All right.
now.
Oh, but it did not land on any building.
It's pretty anticlimactic.
I was trying to destroy my city.
Sims is too much like a reality show. It's like the Sims franchise got dumber. Man, so my wife Debbie, she used to play a whole lot of Sims, and then at one point she's
Flood.
like,
All right, flood.
I could just live my life rather than pretending I'm living their life. Oh, there
wow.
you go.
Now we're
Look at
talking.
that.
Floods. Floods is where it's at.
When you're next to a river. There it is, burning it to the ground. All right, it's 10:30. Should we make our transition?
Let's.
All right. We're going to make our transition back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, those of you that are regulars of the stream, you know where this is headed. Approximately 10:30, every single stream, we decide to play a very special game. And that game is NARC for the Nintendo Entertainment System. So, Endo Alchemista, thank you for the follow. Thank you for joining us. If you guys have questions for Polymer Chemist Joan Simon, please ask them now. He's about to journey into the game of NARC, so don't press start yet. Anyone that's not familiar with the stream, we have a bargain bin Nintendo game that we play at the close of every single night, and that game is called NARC, and it is about winning the war on drugs. And what we do is we see that little clock in the top right corner. We actually time every one of our guests, and this is the first time they are ever playing the game NARC. I don't think anyone's come back. So, Johan, go ahead and press start. I will hit the clock as soon as you hit the ground. Your goal in this game is to go to the right, find keys, go through doors, and do that as fast as you can. Note, you are competing against Justin Kennemar, so tomorrow he will know whether or not you beat him. So holding A is bullets, tapping A is rockets, holding B is squat, tapping B is jump. So as long as you're going right, you're doing good. Go through the doors that have the arrows. There you go. All right, send in the monsters, Huggy Beer. Sorry, we have the new monsters of NARC. All right, Gohaku wants to know, what are the applications of polymer engineering in health space?
In the health space. Well, I mean, so I mentioned one in terms of like
So if you hold both buttons, you can shoot the dogs. Hold both buttons down. Yep, there you go. Then let go if you want to walk fast, and go through doors and walk right. So I'm gonna.
I mean, so all the catheters. If you think of stents, they're typically shape memory materials, shape memory polymers.
So I'm going to jump on this one because Justin had a really good. When I asked him about the movie or TV show that got it right, he talked about a pre-plastics like hospital scene, whereas like they're using like bladders of sheep to contain liquids and stuff, right? Like before you had plastics, like you go to a hospital room and just look around, the percent of things that are in there that are plastics, because they don't readily get contaminated, they have high durability, temperature control, like.
I mean, during COVID, that was one of the comments, right? Of the fact that, is that the door?
Keep going, yeah.
You know, there's a lot of single-use plastics that were.
Keep going. that door on the right. Oh, bombed by a helicopter. So single-use plastics. Sorry.
Yeah, single-use plastics were, a big thing during COVID, right? Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you can argue that we're still not past COVID, but at the height of it, it was certainly something that...
You're in Florida. We never had COVID. So. Oh,
Correct.
Blue card. Get the blue card. Holy crap, you got the fastest blue card drop possible. Key card door. Go through. You are on record pace for our Ask a Scientist guests. Anyway, sorry. The question is about polymer engineering in health space.
Curious about composites.
Oh, I'm going to this one. Are you content with the healthcare answer?
Well, I mean, I think what you said is absolutely true. There was before plastics. I mean, all the needles, all the syringes.
Like reusing that stuff. It's kind of crazy in a healthcare space. Rubber gloves, like that
Rubber
alone.
gloves.
How many lives did that save? That's intense.
Yeah, so there's obviously a lot of...
Okay, so you can jump in the car. But you're going to run into a wall. I'm sorry. Unless you memorize the pattern, there's no way you're getting through that space. All right, Uncle Bill's curious about composites. We use carbon, Kevlar, other fabrics with resins, much like traditional fiberglass. But resin is brittle regardless of how strong the fabric is. So what are the possibilities of using more durable polymers for this?
More durable polymers than what?
Like the resins, carbon, Kevlar, other fabrics, like fiberglass. I think in that case it's more of a brittleness. I don't know if durable is the word I would use, because there are a lot of brittle plastics that'll break. Yeah, resin is brittle regardless of how strong the fabric is. So what are the possibilities of using more durable polymers rather than some of these more
well,
brittle?
there's a lot of work being done where they're trying to use thermoplastic
Thermoplastic. As soon as the clock's on, he's lost all focus. He's on a timeline, ladies and gentlemen.
I can't multitask. I'm sorry.
No, it's an intense case. Just hold right. You don't even have to do anything. Just hold right. But yeah, thermoplastic.
This guy needs to do some running because this is ridiculous.
The NARC saunter. It's a little too slow. You're on good pace. I mean, so thermoplastics rather than these resins.
Yeah, and definitely there's they're trying to use something like polyether ether ketones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So stay on the bottom, and then go up a little bit. You'll avoid some bombs. A little higher up, and then there's a wall. But you got pretty far with it. My fault. I deliberately held my question for this segment. Well, Uncle Bill, if you weren't here earlier, or Huggy Beer, or anyone that just joined the stream, so Johan is actually visiting us here at FSU because he's giving a seminar talk tomorrow in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry. And so, if you were going to make somebody drink a whole lot of alcohol,
so at Southern Miss, we have a giant press for thermoplastic materials, and I mean the aviation industry is really going into that space to make.
So if you stay on the bottom, you're good until the end. Yep, there you go. Sorry, thermoplastics for the aviation industry.
Yeah. Come on. There we go.
Minor detour. Go Haku. Has anyone ever mentioned Johan looks like Carl Urban from The Boys? Have you seen The Boys? I'll find you an image in Carl Urban and The Boys. It's
He's trying to make me lose.
I have no incentive to make you lose. But The Boys is like a dystopian like superhero where what if superheroes had the same mental imbalance as the average person does? That's kind of what The Boys is about. It's
Okay.
very like Watchmen-esque. Like, let's be a little more. So go all the way to the right, last door on the right. You're gonna go through here, that door right there, and you're gonna go get a white card through this. Carl Urban in The Boys. There you go. It's not bad, right? I mean, if you're going to compare it to anyone, Carl Urban's not a bad guy. Anyone that's not familiar with Carl Urban or The Boys, here you go. There's the Google image search result for you. All right, you got the white card. Go left. See the key door?
Did I get the white card?
Yep.
You see it?
All right, anyone joining us? We're closing the night with NARC with polymer chemist / engineer Joan Simon. He is an expert on polymers, generating polymers, making polymers with specific properties. Don't press up when you go through. It brings you back in. He also reminds me of Jonathan Frakes from Star Trek Next Generation. The beard. The beard has correlated you with many people. I bet you didn't expect to learn this about yourself. Left, that door right there. Key card. I think you have it already. There you go. Murderous clowns. You also didn't expect to win the war on drugs tonight, but we're doing it anyway. All right. I don't remember if we closed our answer on the thermoplastics question.
The thermoplastics. Well, I mean, yes, the answer is yes. There are people who are looking into materials that would be less brittle than the typical resins.
I mean, that's intense. So when was the last like breakthrough polymer that made industrial scale impact? I mean, that's a tough answer. So you're going left on this one. And you're going to shoot the Rambo guys with bullets, but you want to shoot them when they get close, not far away. Because for some reason, they don't drop the green card when they're far away. So let up on the bullets. Let them get close. Shoot them with bullets. Shoot them with bullets. No. So you're going to kill the white-coated guy, then wait for Rambo to come back and shoot him with bullets at reasonable close range. I don't know how this... Well, I do kind of know how this works, but... There you go. Green card. All the way left. Go through the door. All right. So related to the movie question, I mean, this one's a challenging one. Like, what movie or TV show gets your discipline right and what gets it wrong? Either using or misusing polymers.
Using or misusing.
I mean, is there a movie or show you've watched and it's just like they completely abuse that knowledge?
About polymers. I mean, the funny one is the what's the name of that movie that everyone talks about?
Which one?
When you're a polymer guy, it's like, what do you want to get into? It's movies from the 70s or the 80s.
You're gonna have to be more specific. Which one?
Where the question is asking what should get into, and then the guy answers polymers.
Oh, in terms of a future endeavor?
Yeah.
Oh man, what is that? Somebody knows what that is. One word, plastics. What is that from? George Jettison, do you know? I know what you're talking about. It is from The Graduate.
The Graduate.
And so that's the question is like, what should we get into? One word, plastics. There you go, George Jettison. Well done. All right. Gohaku has a question. Is there wait, we have a request for a factoid. Do you have a knowledge bomb you want to drop on the audience?
A knowledge bomb.
A factoid, just a like mind-blowing. We haven't gone through your predictions, so you can steal any one of those. This one. That's a fun factoid.
Oh yeah, well, I guess, yeah. Because a Formula One monocoque is several molecules that are cross-linked together. Eventually,
So first, what's a monocoque?
A monocoque is the survival cell that you have in a Formula One.
So that's like the roll cage, the safety cage.
Yeah, it's equivalent of a roll cage for
Formula One.
Yeah, for Formula One. And they're made of carbon fiber nanocomposite and a thermoset resin. And because the thermoset resin is like multiple molecules that react all together, ultimately you end up with only one molecule. So every time you have a every time you have a thermoset, essentially every time you make a giant molecule.
It's a single molecule, like it's 100% conversion or 99.99999.
So you end up with one molecule.
And so that shell, all right, so here you got to rocket the guy in the wheelchair. So tapping A. Every time we do a stream, I have to utter the sentence, you have to rocket the guy in the wheelchair. So yeah, tap A. Instead of bullets, rockets. A little less tap. There you go. There you go. One shot. Now you need two more on him. But it's one continuous molecule in that.
It is one continuous molecule.
So Formula One drivers owe their lives to one molecule. It's polymerized, essentially the shell protecting them. All right, so you don't have to jump, just A. So close. So that shell, they literally just make is it like cast mold? Is that how they do it?
Yeah.
It's just a thermoplastic cast mold, and they just generate the shell whatever shape they want. So those are one of a kind, like per car.
Yeah, and the exactly, and the come on.
A little too, so maybe press the button less hard, like just like a very superficial. You don't even have to. There you go. You don't even have to push it all the way down. Just a tap.
Okay.
If you kill those, yep. Oh, so close. That's pretty fun though. I think Justin's was the similar line along the bowling ball, because it's the same thermoplastic processing, right? It's so close. This boss is the worst. If it makes you feel any better, it's this boss, one more guy you have to fight, and then the game is over. So you're getting very, very close. All right, if anyone has questions, Johan will do his best to answer them while he's distracted playing NARC. But any questions about polymers, plastics, anything you want to know? One word, plastics. That's awesome. And that got it right, because it was investing in the future. They were ahead of the game. Yeah, that was ahead of the curve. Good on them. All right, the other one we like to ask regularly is, what is the flat earth / anti-vax equivalent of your field? I mean, you touched on this earlier. Maybe it's all plastics are evil. That's obviously a misconception, but is there something else?
I don't know, I think that would certainly be.
I mean, one of the other ones is like leaching of like BPA, and I mean, some of that's real, but some of it's paranoia.
Yeah, I think I will stick with my original answer of like, yeah, not all.
Oh, so close. Oh no, he found screen. That was on too. That was a good shot. Yeah, just kill these guys. He'll appear again. It's like tap it less hard. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to push it down all the way. It's pretty sensitive.
The thing is that when the dog is eating it, it won't.
Yeah, it doesn't read it. This is just So backstory on this game. So I was a guest on stream, and it was actually Eugene DePrince that was acting as host when I was on. And I played this game because it was a bargain bin. There we go. And that's number 2. You need one more on the wheelchair guy. We played this bargain bin game when I was a kid, and we never got very far on it unless we used Game Genie and Infinite Lives and all the cheats and stuff, right? So I played this when I was on stream, and then it started as a joke, so I started making my guests play it. And ultimately, we've had, I think, 30 or so of our guests to actually play this game, and we've timed all of them in actually playing it. This game is ahead of its time. It has 4 buttons back in the day when there were only 2. Absolutely, it has 4 controls. It was ahead of its time. But fun factoid, Johan, I don't know if you know this, but I'm the former world record holder in speedrunning this game. So it started out as a joke where chat challenged me to speedrun it, and then my brother and I, he's a computer and electrical engineer, and we actually reverse engineered aspects of this game to figure out how to beat it faster. So the world record in this former world record that I had was 9 minutes and 7 seconds. I have since been beat by the former world record holder. So yeah, this is why I force you to play it. That's good.
I'm not gonna get through.
No, you got this. Actually, your time. You're still pretty good. Yeah, so my advice would be just face one way and get really good at the rocket tap. If you see his gun go down, but a rocket doesn't come out, that is a like a 7 frame. There's literally a 7 frame hit where it's the border between bullets and rockets. So anything less than that, it will be rockets. Back to the health care discussion earlier, Uncle Bill wants to know, I'm remembering a video about the simple stuff like baby bottle nipples that were before modern polymer filled the space. You want to talk about lives saved? Then that would be a big case. I mean, any of those reusable plastics, it's breathtaking. Even cleaning plastics was way easier than... I mean, do you want to comment on, I mean, what do you think the most impactful plastic contribution has been in the last...
Yeah, I mean, actually in the...
So that card.
I need to go to it.
Yep. Not being funny, but latex condoms are important. Absolutely.
That's the... Yeah, population control.
I mean, even diapers too. The polyacrylate that absorbs water.
Yeah, talk to anyone about
parenting.
Parenting. Yeah. I mean, it's everywhere. But I mean, even just paint. You know, everything would be rusting if you didn't have paint, right?
Yeah.
Just the infrastructure crumbling when they're left to their own demise. So.
Yeah, next time you hear somebody talking shit about plastics or talking about, you know, plastics being inherently bad, it is worth reminding there's a balance to be had. All right, Johan, this is the final boss. What you're going to want to do is go to the top of the screen, walk away from him, turn around, stand still, jump, and shoot him with a rocket in the hat. So go up to the top. Oh, go ahead. You have time. Go to the top of the screen where his tongue can't hit you. Go to the right, walk away a bunch. Just go. Yep. Just run right. You can tap jump and it'll give you some room. So tap B. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to turn around, stop. You're going to jump and shoot a rocket in the air. So stop here. Turn around, jump, rocket in the air. So B, then A. Just like that. If you got a rocket in the hat, it knocks his hat off. Those Olds bodies were nasty after a few uses. I wonder what the... Uncle Bill, do you know what the old bottles were made out of? Oh, George Jettison has redeemed Take a Drink. So while you're trying to do this and answer Side's question, cheers, Johan. Thank you for joining us. I apologize for making you play this terrible game. George Jettison, thank you for joining us. If I'm not mistaken, you are David Collins' brother, if I'm remembering correctly. One of our astrophysicists who has been a guest on the stream at least a couple times. George, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on stream. Cheers. There we go. Oh, very close. So just a little earlier on the rocket. But yeah, this is the hardest shot, or one of the hardest shots in the game. So if you get this guy down. But yeah, cheers. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the request of factoids. Sorry about the internet
walking away.
issues. Yep. Okay, now stop. You got to get him on screen. I'll finish drinking. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that was really close. Drinking heavily on stream. If anyone has suggestions on people we should raid, unfortunately we lost most of our viewership due to the internet connection being down, but either way we're happy to share our distribution with science streamers, preferably science streamers in particular if Uncle Bill's still here. If you guys are interested in science streams of any kind, you guys should check out the Knowledge Fellowship. It's a collective, it's a Discord channel that has a whole bunch of streamers across physics, about chemistry, biology, a bunch of people, arts and crafts, all sorts of different stuff. Are you having fun yet, Johan? Oh, close. A little bit later on it. I can't remember some early form of rubber, maybe leather before that. I mean, there was a non-trivial portion that was using like stomachs and intestines, right? Like that was the go-to.
Oh yeah.
Semi-malleable, but still waterproof. I mean, like what was the original condoms made out of? It was like a lamb's
Lambskin?
Lambskin.
I don't know.
That was one of the early ones. It was just, it did the job. I'm sorry, Johan. I apologize. Is this better or worse than NHL 96? Or SimCity? It's been a journey tonight. When you guys have questions, we have 5 minutes left. Johan will be here for the next 5 minutes. Happy to answer anything related to polymers, polymer engineering.
Around.
Relevant Jesse, Physics 1 studying. That's fun. Let me take a look.
It's so hard.
Oh, is he like tutoring Physics 1? That's pretty fun. Skyless. Reviews of YouTube historical content. Oh man, that's got to be a minefield of just terrible things. Skyless, are they streaming right now? No, they're not. They're not live. Relevant Jesse. Let's do it, Haku. Let's go for a physicist. Johan, if you get too frustrated, I can help with this. If you want me to get the hat off, you can do the next steps. It's up to you. Do you want to know what Justin's time was before making that decision?
Yes.
All right, let me look it up.
Has he beat me already?
I don't think so. Not his first time. He's been on the stream twice. So his second time on the stream, he did 19 minutes and 29 seconds. His first time on the stream was 39 minutes. So,
We're good.
You got some time. You just got to turn around, jump, and shoot him. Relevant Jesse.
Oh, that was close.
Nerduino. That's a fun name. Uncle Bill, your encyclopedic knowledge of science streamers is much appreciated. I don't get on Twitch enough, and also Wednesday night is a weird time to stream, so I don't know who's actually on stream. So I appreciate the knowledge. Space and science news for Nerduino. It's pretty fun. All right, I have not been watching it all. Have you gotten close? That's pretty close.
It's just that I can't see the rocket is.
Oh, there it is. Okay, now you don't have to jump anymore. Now it's just rockets to the face. All right. So turn around, don't jump, just rocket. So stop. Go back. Just rockets. There you go. Okay, now it's going to be bullets to the spine, but you can't do it at the top of the screen. You got to go down to like middle level because this game's dumb and that's how the hitboxes work. But you're basically going to walk away, turn around and shoot. But you want to have some distance so he doesn't run into you. All right, last minute questions for Joan Simon. He's happy to answer them. That's 2. So you walk away again and keep going. This is how this works. Awesome. That sounds cool. Good. Let's raid Nerduino. Huggy Beer redeemed a request a factoid in your pinnacle moment of gameplay against NARC. Another factoid? The knowledge bomb?
One of the first polymer chemists, Wallace Carruthers, was a brilliant person, but he was also a very tortured individual who ended up committing suicide. So the father of polymer science was someone who's tortured. It's
Tortured because of the science?
I don't know. I don't know what the
Debbie Downer factoid by Gawker. Closing the stream with the most depressing factoid about polymer science. I mean, but that's not a trivial, early father of thermodynamics. Boltzmann? There's several thermodynamics. Yeah. So was he not accepted in the field? Is that the issue, or it was just...
He was accepted in the field. I think he it's interesting because he had a career where he oscillated between academia and industries. So he worked for Standard Oil, which is
two more. You got him. He created nylon. Oh, that's interesting. So father of modern. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, you can argue Staudinger was the father of science. But...
All right, now you're on to civil forfeiture the level. Go ahead and walk to the end. You can pick up gold, but it doesn't help you at all. It's all about time and the way we play NARC. Huggy Beer, thank you for the request a factoid. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a downer. 28 minutes and 57 seconds. So you beat Justin's original time by 10 minutes. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have won the war.
That's all I came here for.
Johan, despite the 2 internet connection drops, as well as all the other issues we're having, despite the last-minute buzzer beater loss in NBA 95, you won the war on drugs and you beat Justin's time.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Thank you for joining us. It's been a great time. We're going to raid Nerduino if you guys stick around for a little bit, but it's always a pleasure. Your questions are awesome. Thank you for joining us. We enjoy spending time with you. Johan, thank you for joining me. I know I sent a weird request in the email saying, do you want to play video games, drink, and hang out on Wednesday night? And he said yes. So thank you very much for joining me. Johan, any parting words for our audience?
Well, I look forward to actually reviewing.
Do you? Do you want to see this stream?
But no, thank you so much for having me. It was fun, and
awesome.
This is great.
Yeah, was this everything you hoped it would be?
I mean, it allowed me to revisit a part of my youth.
Yeah, no,
I didn't think I would relive. So
playing games 20 years later, I'm glad you had the opportunity. Thank you for joining us, driving 5.5 hours to get here. But thank you everyone for joining us. Join us again in a week. Johan has usually we do every 2 weeks, but Johan was visiting this week, so we did a special case. Next week we're back on a regular schedule. Our guest will actually be Brett Willett, who's in the Education Department of Florida State University. You can see there Nightbot's comment. He does networked learning theory in online communities, so how people learn in community environments and an online environment, and things like Twitter and Twitch and Reddit and things like that. Looking at identity agency in online environments, as in how people identify themselves online versus in person, and other things like social network analysis. So really online community. He should be a fun guest to have on the stream. So if you guys can join us again in a week, that'll be awesome. But as usual, it's always a pleasure. We really enjoy our time with you guys. You have the best comments and questions, so we have a lot of fun during this. So thank you again. Until next week, we'll see you then.